Do you have problems holding or keeping a job and find yourself being fired because you have PTSD? Then this video is for you. Thriving beyond trauma and empowering yourself to create a resilient life is what this video is going to be about, because people with PTSD and CPTSD find it difficult to hold and keep a job and are in and out of relationships as well as friendships. Because I'm going to go over this because I have CPTSD. CPTSD usually leads to borderline personality disorder, and PTSD, they both have flashbacks, which creates this emotional dysregulation and a personality that can be really rash. You know what I mean? Those fits of rage that come out and the mood swings that are associated with PTSD and CPTSD even more. And people with this, well, you just can't hold a job. And I'm going to help you out here and make it possible for you guys. So by creating an understanding of why this happens, because this is something I had to go through. So there's going to be 7 points that I'm going to discuss to help you create resilience and create the possibility for you to hold a job and maintain a career and a relationship. So number 1, what challenges you in a career is your impulsivity. Being impulsive, meaning you keep changing your mind. And when you're on a job, especially a career-oriented job, if you don't know your stuff, if you're not an expert in what you do and you keep changing your mind, usually when you keep changing your mind, you're second-guessing yourself. If you're second-guessing yourself, it's demonstrating you doubt your own judgment. In other words, you're demonstrating that you're not an expert. If you have a certain task and there's a certain step-by-step way of completing that task, and you keep changing your mind, then your crew and the people around you are going to lose faith in you because of your impulsive nature. You may just stop in the middle of the job and go for a cigarette break because you feel emotionally overwhelmed. Because when you have PTSD or CPTSD, the emotional dysregulation, your emotions get amplified. So if you're in a work environment that's really challenging and stimulating, you may come across as just being unstable and impulsive. You just do what you want when you want. You're unreliable. Number 2, discipline. Being unreliable and being impulsive usually it causes you to have problems in discipline. In other words, persistent and consistent action steps. Just like if you're, say, learning the piano, so to speak, practice makes perfect. A pianist is going to continually practice those chords over and over to become proficient in the playing of a piano. In any endeavor, whether you're an electrician, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're running in business administration, whether you're a manager of Ross department store, whatever job you're in, there's a certain said step of tasks that you need to perform. And if you don't perform them consistently, persistently, to create results, well, that's going to create problems because of the emotional dysregulation. The emotional dysregulation can make you stop in the middle of work and go to the bar. You know what I'm saying? Go hit the bottle. Or go talk on the phone and yap with your friends when you should be working. In other words, there's a lack of discipline, and that's a problem. So getting disciplined, getting focused, no matter what you feel, just ride out those emotional waves and stay focused. Number 3, accountability. Accountability is responsibility, owning up to who you are and what you do, owning up to your mistakes, as well as being the cause of your success. In other words, your vision, your commitment, your desire has to be there. your skill level. Just like the pianist, if you want to put on a performance, you're going to put in the work to create the performance. You're going to train, you're going to put on practice performances. I put on practice speeches on camera, and I don't post them because I practice this speaking. So training yourself, that's the accountability, that's the responsibility. As much as it is owning up to your mistakes as well. If you make a mistake, if you act like a jerk, if you get out of line, you need to own up to it. You need to say, hey, listen, I became really stressed. I didn't handle myself properly. I apologize. I didn't mean to put everyone on edge. I just needed a 2-second break. I needed to go outside and get some fresh air, and I wasn't able to do that. Or whatever the thing is that you've done. So you know what I mean. When you have PTSD or CPTSD, I know this from my own experience that we have these fits of rage. We have our moments where we get out of line with our words, our emotions. We get very intense and make everyone else around us feel uncomfortable. We've got to own up to that. We've got to own up to the impact that it has on the people around us. That's what I mean by accountability. So be the cause. In other words, train yourself, continue training to improve your skills so you can do the job, as well as own your mistakes, own your behavior, be accountable. Number 4, authenticity. So many people with borderline personality disorder, with PTSD, rely on their coping mechanisms to get them by, meaning that the instant gratification is usually hitting the bottle or acting out of line because it just satisfies us. You know what I'm saying? When you're stressed out, just letting it out is very satisfying. But you see how it impacts people around you, turns people off. Those coping mechanisms aren't going to get you through the circumstance. They're not going to get you the higher paying position. You follow what I mean? Your accountability, your authenticity. In other words, commit. You've got to commit to being a certain way. And you know what? At work, I am professional. No matter what, I'm going to be professional. I'm committed to being a professional. And because of that, that is my authentic state. Not my party self, not my coping mechanisms, but during work, I'm committed to being professional. And anything other than that is not who I am, because I said I'm going to be professional. So that's the authenticity, and that's integrity. Steps into number 5, integrity. Are you who you say you are? Do you do what you say you do? What are your moral and ethical standards? And what's your work ethic? What's your standard at work? Do you hold yourself accountable to that standard? Are you walking your talk? Can you do the job you said you can do by the time you said you can do it, in the manner of which you said you can do it? Be your word. Have integrity. Be who you say you are. Do what you say you're going to do. Hold yourself to the standard of which the other workers are basically holding them. Usually it's company policy or office policy, or there's a deadline. There's a certain quality of work that is to be expected. Hold yourself to that. Hold yourself to the standard of excellence and impeccability. And then be okay with making mistakes. I mean, we're all make mistakes. We're only human. With PTSD, that making mistake can be terrorizing, especially with CPTSD. If we have, a childhood filled, that's what I have is CPTSD. There's this programming in my mind that if I make a mistake, it's the end of the world. So I hold myself to this sense of being perfect when there is no perfection. And it took me many years to get over that, to be okay with being slightly less than best or less than best, you know what I mean? But you still strive to be the best. You still strive to do your best. That's integrity, impeccability. Now, number 6, having a practice that enables you to calm your mind, to master your mind. And that could be meditation, that could be working out at the gym, exercise, could be running, could be hiking, or it could be martial arts. Martial arts, I think, is the best thing for anybody with PTSD or CPTSD. You get confronted with a so-called threat, but it's in a safe space when you spar, because you spar a lot. I've taken Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for many years, Judo and Aikido for many years. And when I spar, I got confronted with this idea of a threat, and it took me a little while to shift my brain, my thinking, my beliefs. I had to tell myself, this is not a threat. We're just training. This person who's trying to break my arm or choke me out is not trying to break my arm or choke me out. They're simply my training partner to help me to improve. And once I really shifted that perspective point into understanding that this is a mutually beneficial dynamic, even though it feels threatening, it's not threatening because they're not there to really hurt me or kill me. It's martial arts. So getting confronted in that way all of the time helped get me over the panic, you know what I mean? And that impulsive reaction to burst out in rage and blame. You know what I'm saying? And it helped me focus. I realized I have options. That, wait a second, I can rely upon the training that I got, and I can apply the technique rather than get upset and take it personally. And martial arts really helped me out tremendously, because I do practice meditation, but meditation in action, meditation in everyday life is different than sitting in a nice quiet place, focusing on my breath. It's much different than being in life, having all of these stimulus being put at me. Martial arts really helped me out. So you find a practice, whatever works for you, to help calm your mind, master your mind. You got to master that reactivity. It's called exposure to triggers. For me, I always exposed myself to fear, to things that made me afraid, to make me face my fear, to get over that frozenness, to get over my timidness, and to get over this kind of narrow view of life and realize, well, all I got to do is focus on the action steps to achieve the results that I want. And that creates courage. So that's what's worked for me. You got to find a way that works for you. For me, martial arts and meditation. Yoga is another great system. Therapy is a great system. Keeping a journal is a great way. Also, playing an instrument, learning to express yourself through an instrument is tremendously therapeutic. It makes you feel good to let it out in a way that's not destructive. And the more familiar you are with your own emotions, the more comfortable you'll be when you feel this hyper reactivity. Because the anger, rage, fear, guilt, and shame is so overwhelming for the brain. That's why we act out. So the more familiar we are with our own feelings through music, through expression, then the better we are at calming ourselves down in the moment when we could potentially get triggered. And you know what I mean? When you get triggered, all hell breaks loose. So, number 7, having support. Surround yourself with people that you can trust, but also there are formal meetings. There are men's groups, such as Momentum. There's veterans halls. There's Alcoholics Anonymous. There's all kinds of groups, even for women. There's survivors of rape, groups of other women, survivors of abuse, things like that, where you can feel safe, you can open up and connect with other people. Because again, it's about exploring those emotions that are really uncomfortable, especially the emotion of vulnerability and powerlessness, the feeling of helplessness, the agony and the anguish. That's really hard to vocalize and share and get comfortable, where we can transform those emotions, where we can come to a sense of completion and resolution within ourselves, which usually comes with forgiveness and letting go and then moving on. But that forgiveness is the initiation of moving on. So we can find that sense of inner peace and begin to focus and begin to look forward in our life rather than constantly looking backwards. And that ability to constantly check in with ourselves, to say, this is an emotion from my past. This is a memory from my past. This is not happening now. Once I'm able to recognize that, I can then make the distinction between my present moment experience and my memory, and I can say, this is a memory. I'm going to file this memory away into a filing cabinet in my mind, and then look forward from this point forward. And then I can focus on the task at hand and get things done and live up to what it is that I said I'm going to do in the manner of which I said I'm going to do it, meaning I'm going to do the best that I can and do it in the time that I said I can. And if I can't, I'm going to own up to that. I'm going to say, listen, I said I would get it done by Friday. I'm not able to do that. I just made the wrong judgment. I made an error in judgment. And I got overwhelmed, and I had other things happen where I just need till Saturday to get it done. You know how it is at work. When you're working on a certain endeavor, you have a deadline. You need to give yourself enough time to complete it and give yourself extra time. In other words, focusing on what needs to get done to produce the results that you desire in your life, or the results that fulfills the requirements of the job. And that enables you to improve your working condition, your working stature. In other words, you're standing with the higher ups and move ahead in your career rather than getting fired due to the emotional upsets, the impulsive way of being, and the lack of accountability that is so often in the character and behavior of people with CPTSD and people with PTSD. And it's not your fault. You have this emotional dysregulation that makes it so hard to focus and commit and to be accountable because of the shame that comes with these emotions of rage. And you feel bad. You have a fit of rage. You feel terrible about it. And then you feel guilty and shame, and you're afraid to show your face to the people that you flipped out on. And this cycle, this vicious cycle, keeps happening over and over and over. And you can put an end to that. So if you want to put an end to that, and not just put an end to that, but succeed in your life, to get ahead in your career, in other words, to cultivate and experience resilience, then go ahead and contact me, and I'm going to give you a complimentary discovery session so you can get ahead in your career and experience fulfillment, freedom from all this pain, and abundance in your life. Thank you so much for listening. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know how your life is going.